Good morning. Namaskar. Welcome to the editorial edge on StudyIQ English. My name is Bhuvan. We will discuss three topics today. The first one being global manufacturing practices. Since considering that India has been in the news recently for the wrong reasons when it came to its pharma industry. Okay. We have had certain agencies that were linked to deaths, in fact, fatalities, not just in Africa, but also in the United States and other countries. So there has been a massive overhaul in the pharma regulation of India. So we will take a look at that, the global manufacturing practices of the World Health Organization. This is the best practices, considered to be the best practices when it comes to pharma regulation. And that has been incorporated in Schedule M of the particular law. Okay, so we'll take a look at that. All right, thereafter the second one will be on select committee, because again we all followed that particular debate in the Rajya Sabha where a particular member of parliament was alleged to have breached privilege by say misrepresenting membership on his select committee. Okay, so we will understand firstly, we have discussed breach of privilege and privilege motion in the past. Today we'll take a look at what select committee is and what exactly is it that it does and what's the constraints. And in regards to this particular case, what does the rule say? Straight up, what does the rule say? And thereafter, obviously, what's going to happen is obviously upon the chairman. But then we'll understand that. Okay. Thereafter, the third topic is today is the World International Day of Indigenous People. Okay. Or in other words, World Tribal Day, Tribals Day. So we'll basically take a look at the day. Okay. What does it signify? And in terms of the Sustainable Development Goals and say indigenous people, indigenous population, what's the target, what has been achieved? We'll take a look at that, because again on this day it's important to consider say the rights based issues that arise when you discuss and talk about indigenous people. Alright, so that's your introduction for the class. Now good morning Bulbul, Rajan, Sai Krishna, Arka, Subhankar, Jai Hind. Sai Krishna, not at all. Sai Krishna, I hope your exams went well, right? I hope your exams went well. Welcome back. Okay. So this is our agenda for the day, and if you want to reach out to me directly, well, here is my Instagram ID. Okay. And this is my email ID. You can reach out to me for any particular concern, and this is my Telegram channel barcode. Okay. Go ahead and scan this. You will be taken to a Telegram channel wherein you will find the PDFs of all previous classes, including the ones that we do in the evening on environment, current affairs classes, questions, all of that are shared here from time to time, and obviously you will see it become a major resource point for your preparation in the days to come. Okay, so go ahead and scan this and become a part of the Telegram channel too. Alright, so we'll discuss the questions of yesterday first, because that's what we always do, focus on outcome based learning. So first a brief look at yesterday's questions and then we begin with today's questions. Fair enough? Okay. Alright, first one, Gulf of California is also known as Sea of Cortez. In fact, it includes the Sea of Cortez, so it's correct. Gulf of California separates Baja California Peninsula from Mexican mainland. We discussed the map yesterday. It's on the western coast towards the Pacific, separating the peninsula with the mainland. Alright, so obviously correct again. Vaquita is a mammal endemic to the Gulf of Mexico. In fact, we discussed in detail yesterday the Vaquita porpoise and how exactly 10 of them are left and they are critically endangered as a direct threat arising because of the practice of gill net fishing. Okay, so we discussed that, so this is obviously correct. And totoaba fish is caught as the bycatch in the illegal fishing of Vaquita porpoise, in fact is incorrect, because what you see is that the Vaquita porpoise is in fact the bycatch. The actual target is the commercial fish totoaba, right? But then what you find is that our boy here, the Vaquita porpoise, gets unnecessarily involved in this mess because of this illegal thrust on fishing for the commercial markets of Asia. Okay? So the incorrect statement here being only 4. Alright. Do we have any doubts? Sir, Shubhankar, I will inform you. Let me just inform you, say by noon. Will that be fair? Okay. Oh, acha, Arka, I have no idea. See, I have not really been very used. I have not used Instagram a lot, but I'll check it up. ठीक है, मैं देखता हूँ. Fine. So fourth is correct here. Fourth is the only incorrect here. Fine. Let's go forward. International Whaling Commission is a voluntary organization not backed by a treaty is correct. In fact, this is why you found that several countries over the years have gone in and out of international whaling Commission. Okay, so one obviously is Japan. This has been in the news because of, say, the alleged illegal whaling being carried out by Japan. Japan defends itself saying, you know what, we go and fish only those particular species that are found in abundance. This is why you find that there is a conflict, which is why Japan withdrew from the International Whaling Commission. You also find other states such as Canada. Okay, Egypt has withdrawn from the International Whaling Commission. You also find Venezuela. All right. So the major countries that have in fact withdrawn from the International Whaling Commission. And why can they do that? Well, because it is not backed by a treaty. It's a voluntary organization. Fair enough. India is in fact a member of the IWC. All right. It is in fact a member, and no issues there. So the correct options here being 1 and, well, that's all, just 1. Okay, because Japan is not a member. Fair enough. Let's go forward. Which of the critically endangered mammals are found in India? Well, obviously these two are well known to us, dugong and the Ganges river dolphin. Okay, Platypus echidna, mainly of Australia, down under are they found, and in fact they are egg laying mammals. Okay, egg laying mammals, which in environment, from the environment point of view, you should understand that they are called monotremes. Okay, so they are egg laying mammals, platypus and echidna, found in Australia, and which is why they are called as monotremes. Whereas manatees are found in, say, the American Gulf of Mexico, same area, and they are also called as sea cows. Okay, sea cows. So you just find 1 and 2 in our country. Fair enough. We'll go forward. Okay, so which of the above are correctly matched? Now we discussed in detail yesterday about Einstein's cross. Okay, and so not just about the mission, say about what the science is, but also you need to understand about, say, the different projects that have been launched by different space agencies. Clear enough? So Hubble is NASA, well known. Gaia in fact is the telescope that is launched by the European Space Organization or Association, again incorrect. Chandra X-ray is the flagship product of NASA when it comes to X-ray spectrometry. Okay, X-ray telescopes, Chandra X-ray is the flagship product of NASA. Okay, and XMM Newton is ESA. So the correct answers here being 1 and 4 only. Okay, 1 and 4 only. Right, we'll go forward. Okay, simple physics question that I had for you yesterday. Not a lot of difficulties here. No object can move faster than the speed of light. At least that's what we know so far. Okay. Fine. Speed of sound 332 is it? Is it 332 or 334? In my days when I was in school, it used to be 334. So it keeps changing. Okay. I don't know for what reason, but okay, fine. And space and time are relative, so all are correct here. Okay. This is in fact E equals to mc square. This whole thing that Einstein was working on is that in particular line. Okay. Now this question, I realized that I made a mistake later, okay, and so I expected someone to catch it, and I was happy that someone caught it from the class. I think it was caught by 3 students. Karuna was 1, Ash J being the 2nd, and Aditya being the 3rd. Okay, so essentially the problem that I've made. So the Global Competitiveness Index is released by the World Economic Forum, the Davos fellow guys, Davos Summit fellows. Okay, whereas the World Competitiveness Index is released by the IMD. Okay, so this is the brief mistake that I also made. See, this is again very confusing. You have these several global, world, same meaning synonyms being used. So this was the mistake. So none of the options here would be correct for this. Okay, all of them are incorrect. In fact, the correct option here would be the World Economic Forum. Whereas the World Competitiveness Index or the World Competitiveness Report is published by the Institute for Management and Development. Clear? Okay, so here it would be nota, none of the above. I was happy to see a few students did catch this answer. Okay, the Global Innovation Index is straightforward, the WIPO. Okay, they published this and India is ranked what, around 40s in this. Okay. Alright, what does venture capital mean? Now this was in its year, in the year that it was asked. Most of the confusion was around option A and B. Alright, option A and B, most of the confusion was, and eventually what was agreed upon and eventually corroborated by the UPSC also was that a venture capital is in fact a long-term fund. that is given with the intention of scalability, of improving the functionality of a particular organization. Okay, so the answer here being B. It's a long-term fund that you're essentially giving to entrepreneurs to scale their business operations, to bring that ideation now to the public, to the product. Okay? Good morning, Deepak. Welcome. Welcome. Clear? So these are the questions from yesterday, and we had my star individuals Pranjul, Shubham, Mandeep, Evergreen, Karuna. I'm happy to see the regular names, and I'm also happy to see that a bunch of new names have come up. Yes, these guys in fact went ahead and emailed me their answers. Someone sent it to me on Telegram, someone sent it to me on the YouTube channel. I would all recommend that you put it in one place. It's easier for me to collate, but I'm happy. Keep it up. Good guys, and continue to the rest also. You know, I want a day when this whole screen is filled up with names, because these questions are relevant. They'll test your understanding. And eventual focus is, if you're spending 60 minutes here, you should be able to solve at least 8 to 10 questions out of it. Okay. All right. So that concludes yesterday's discussion. We'll finally jump into today's discussion about the global manufacturing practices. Now, like I told you that there has been a lot of problem when it comes to, say, India's pharmaceutical products recently. Isolated incidents, but there have been issues. Okay. And again, you know that India is known for its pharma business, especially because of its affordability. But now questions have been raised about its quality, especially in the light of these isolated incidents. So you have had the government of India go ahead and introduce a regulation of sorts. Okay. It is basically following the best practices of a world model. Okay. Just straight away, you're bringing in the best practices. The international norms are now being followed and made mandatory in the Indian pharma regulations. Okay. So what you're finding is that the goods manufacturing practices, which are essentially to do with guidelines regarding manufacturing products such as food, pharma, well, this is going to be a norm now. So qualitatively, a change is coming in. Okay. This is what you're looking at as a qualitative change. Okay. So now for the pharma products, obviously, WHO goes ahead and issues the best guidelines for it, the best practices that are related to pharma products. Okay. And it is designed to minimize the risks that are involved with pharma production that cannot be eliminated through testing. Because eventually, you have to realize the problem with pharma products arises in 2 stages, and only 2 stages. Okay, one is when you are, say, designing the product. Okay, and then eventually the transportation of the product. Okay, now just understand this in brief. Just give me a second. You understand this in brief, and it's quite easy for you to take it forward after that. 1 second. Okay. Let's understand it in brief, and you'll it's quite easy actually. So the design and the manufacturing. Now during the design, what you need to take care of is something called an active ingredient. Okay. What is an active ingredient in a pharma product? So example, you have a tablet called, say, ABC. Alright. Suppose a tablet is there called ABC. Now what essentially you are looking at is that it will have a certain component which will be essentially responsible for, say, betterment of your health. Okay. For example, when you have a paracetamol or an analgesic, there is a certain component in that tablet that you have that is specifically designed to address your health issue. Okay. So that particular component, those ingredients in a tablet that are designed to make sure to minimize your suffering, you know, those are called active ingredients. Okay. So they are responsible for minimizing your suffering. They will make you feel better essentially. And then you have something called an inactive ingredient. Okay. So it's very basic, and you will remember this. Consider the space missions, guys. We have discussed this, no? So you have the payload, and then you have, say, the structure on which the payload goes, the space vehicle, right? This inactive ingredient is your space vehicle. It's your carrier. It takes the active ingredient inside your body. It's the wheels of the medicine. Simple. Okay. And this is responsible for, say, the transportation. It's the wheels. This is how it's going to be soaked in your, say, bloodstream. Now this is not to be mistaken as an inert ingredient. It's not inert. It does have its own functionality. Its function is to carry the particular active ingredient to wherever it is needed. Clear? Is that clear, guys? Firstly, understand this. Active and inactive ingredients. After that, the policy is quite easy to understand. Okay. So now, what does the government of India has gone ahead and said? That there are going to be mechanisms and rules in place for both of these. Okay. You are looking at active plus inactive, and you are looking at not just the design functionality of the medicine, but also structures in place for the transportation of it, for the manufacturing and transportation of it. So for certain medicines, for example, they need to be stored at a particular temperature, say -5 degrees centigrade. Unless it is stored constantly at that temperature, it loses its relevance. Now, if you have a supply chain wherein this is not ensured, then this is not global best practices, which is what the WHO say, GMP rules say, the global manufacturing practices. Okay, that the best practices need to be followed, not just from the design perspective, but also from the manufacturing and the transportation perspective. That is in one line, GMP. ठीक है? Good morning, Art. Welcome, welcome. Are you clear, guys, about active and inactive? If that is clear, this policy is done. Okay. So we'll go forward and take a look now. The issues with pharma products, especially when it has come to say the Indian market. Okay. Number one, we are looking at contaminated products. In fact, out of the say 22,000 medicines that were there, that were tested, okay, only 2,000 passed the quality benchmark. Do you realize that contamination is a severe issue? Again, contamination in what sort? The active ingredient vis-a-vis inactive ingredient ratio. Okay, so this is one issue. Fatal consequences have come up not just in say Africa, but also in the other countries. USA also has been one of the other countries that has been plagued because of the quality of Indian medicines. Okay, incorrect labeling. This is again an issue that we also face in our own country. You know, that the labeling is not proper, that the font is too small. Now please realize that say our country might have say a particular say, you write in say Arial 8 or 2 font or 4 font, for example. I am giving you an example, okay, this is not the exact one. Now for example, USA might say that no, you need to have it in say Verdana 8. So what has the WHO gone and said? It has found a middle ground, say Times New Roman 6. All of the medicines will come in this. So what happens then? There is uniformity of accessibility, no? So a medicine made in Africa also can easily be read and understood by another person say in Vietnam. This has also been done. Okay. So incorrect labeling and language constraint, that has been taken care of by the WHO GMP. You realize the practical problems, no? You and I also face. Certain medicines, the labeling is so small, you can't even read exactly what's written. Ingredients may be missing. Okay. At times you need to mention about allergens, that okay, a particular medicine will have such and such, or such people should not have it. You know, that needs to be mentioned. Expiry date needs to be mentioned, with best before or due date or whatever it is, that needs to be mentioned. Okay. So all of those have been taken care of by the WHO GMP. And now look at this, insufficient or too much of active ingredient, resulting in ineffective treatment or adverse effects. That the active ingredient that we learnt about right now, on what ratio it should be, that has to be uniform. Okay, it can't be that a Dolo made in say Calcutta has an active ingredient ratio of say 75%, whereas one made in say Noida has another of 65%. Then that is not proper. I'm just giving an example, okay. This is not exactly how it functions. Don't take it as the ultimate truth, but for your understanding, for the sake of your understanding, that the active ingredient ratio needs to be uniform. And so uniformity needs to be maintained across all sectors, right from say manufacturing, design and transport. Okay, next. So what are the changes? Firstly, you are looking at all the qualitative changes, guys. Okay, so if the examination mentions that the GAP, global manufacturing policies, and give you say 4 examples like this, okay, looks at it qualitatively, quantitatively, okay, rationally, or something, some example like that, you will mark qualitatively. These are all qualitative changes that are happening in the supply chain. Sali Kanwar, good morning. Desired mixed tube, good morning, welcome. Okay, Shubhankar, I'll just address your query, give me a second. Okay, you're also looking at drug stability. See, drug stability refers to the extent to which a drug retains within specified limits and throughout the period of storage and use the same properties Another term that you must be aware of, a drug is considered to be stable if today, on say the 9th of August, okay, if say its stability, if its potency is say at 100%, okay, on say the 9th of October, it should have 100% potency. It should not deteriorate over time. Its efficiency, its efficacy should not deteriorate over time. You know, up until say its best buy date, it should have the same stability, and it should follow a uniform stability. That is drug stability. Two terms you have to keep in mind when it comes to pharma. One is active ingredient, inactive ingredient, two, and the third one will be drug stability. That a drug remains potent enough until its desired time frame that you have given, say 6 months or 12 months or 18 months, whatever is it. Clear? So this is drug stability. Okay. Uniform protocol for clinical trials. So you have certain medicines that are plant based. Okay. Certain animals that are animal based. Okay. So the trials that you are carrying out, yes, the trials that you are carrying out, say after you have harvested that particular mechanism from the plant, whatever the medicine is that you have harvested, you should be able to go ahead and produce, say, significant evidence of uniform clinical trials. That there needs to be a standard operating procedure. Okay. This is again a checkpoint that has been made so that all the processes are uniform. Uniformity लाना है इस इंडस्ट्री में पूरा, ठीक है. So guidelines issued for investigational products being manufactured for clinical trials, thus ensuring that the products used meet the quality and safety standards. Okay. And now everything is digital. Right from the manufacturing up until the transport, everything is digital. Make sure that computers come in the whole process so that there is transparency, accountability. That you can track that a particular medicine is en route from say A to B in a box which is being maintained at -5 degrees centigrade. Okay. This is the whole process I am telling you. That particular mechanism will be able to track the real-time temperature of this. That if the temperature goes beyond or below, say, it becomes 0 degrees centigrade, the medicine loses its stability. It becomes ineffective. Now the person who consumes it is now more prone to say adverse effects or side effects or no effect at all. So tracking, real-time tracking, making sure that it's completely digital, that it becomes faceless. Okay. These are the changes that have been brought in by the GMP, the Global Manufacturing Practices of the WHO. Okay. From the UPSC perspective, I would suggest that you firstly recollect and remember that the GMP for pharma is being done by the WHO. Okay. The second topic that you should understand from this is the difference between active and inactive. Okay. Important. Thereafter, I'll also look at drug stability. And eventually, from the polity perspective, I'll look at the drug rules of India, the Drug Safety Rules and Act. Okay. This will be done. The Drug Safety Rules and Act, I'll share the brief text of it. There is not a lot of difference there. Schedule M is the one that deals with all the changes. Well, I'll send you a brief write-up for that. Okay, let's look at this question. Which of the following is or are the reasons behind drug stability study? Okay. Why is drug stability study important? You will leave these answers for me in the comment box, by the way. I encourage you guys. Whoever is watching this, I encourage you. Number A, chemical degradation of the active drug. Number B, formation of a toxic product. C, changes in the physical appearance. Or D, none of the above or all of the above. You will leave the answer for me. Okay. Correct, Bulbul. You are absolutely correct. Okay. This is question 1 for today. Question 2, statement 1. An active ingredient is a drug responsible for relief to the person or the animal. Inactive ingredient is inert, that has no functionality. The WHO Global Center for Traditional Medicine is located in Haridwar. You know, when you discuss medicines, especially in the Indian context, so obviously you have the pharma industry that we discussed today. Then the other industry that we should focus on is the traditional industry. So Ayurveda, Unani, all of that, the Ayush ministry essentially. Okay. So today we are focused on this. Let's say I'll focus on this tomorrow. We'll just take a look at say Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, all of that. The traditional medicine or the knowledge of the country. Because that also has been say guaranteed, and it's not something say like hoax like many people would believe, no. So again it has its uses. The key in fact from the mains perspective, if you are to go and frame a good answer, You are going to say that there needs to be a convergence of this and this to realize the health of the country. That you cannot ignore traditional knowledge when it comes to, say, the health of the people. Okay, it has its own use. It may not be completely a substitute, and in fact, when you look at it, pharma industry, the allopathic products are also not a complete substitute for good health. It needs to be a mix of both. You will take the middle ground. आप किसी का side नहीं लोगे वहाँ पे, ठीक है? Pranjul, good morning, good morning. All right, you'll identify the incorrect statements for me and leave it for me in the comment box. And this now, bedaquiline, what is it used for? Bedaquiline for whooping cough, penicillin for malaria, antiretroviral therapy for influenza, and antiviral for HIV/AIDS. You will identify the correctly matched. Okay. You must have heard of this, read of this, discussed of this. Okay, it's a huge thrust area for the government. In fact, last year, on August the 15th, last year or the year before that, you had the Prime Minister announce a huge project for bedaquiline. Okay, for something Mukt Bharat, he had said. Next, penicillin, you know the whole story about penicillin. So you let me know the answer for this. Okay? Okay, that's your first topic complete. By the way, the lecture 3 of this was done just a couple of days ago. And I'm honestly not very encouraged by, say, the responses so far. To those who have not seen the lecture, go ahead, I encourage you. The PDF is also shared on the Telegram channel. Please go ahead and answer. There are a bunch of 10 MCQs that I have written in this lecture, all to do with the basics of environment and ecology. Okay, go ahead and have a look at this question. See if you can test yourself, test about your basic knowledge, because everyone knows the high concepts, The high concepts are easy to arrive at, but it's the basics at where we always falter. So go ahead and have a look at the questions and leave it for me in the comment box. Okay. The 4th class, as a student also currently asked, the schedule of that I will be announcing that by this afternoon. Okay. So it will either be this evening or most likely tomorrow evening. I'll keep you updated. Okay. All right. Now let's look at select committee. So you had a particular case in the parliament where a particular member who was alleged to have breached the privilege of his fellow members because he misrepresented their position when it came to a select committee. Okay, there was a huge furor. So we are not interested in the political angle of it, but we'll take a look at the rules. All right. Okay. So in terms of the committee in the parliament, okay, there are 2 types. One, a permanent type of a committee, and the second one is an ad hoc type of a committee, which comes and goes. Okay. Now it can come and go on 2 counts. One, that it has a specific, say, role to play. That suddenly a bill is referred to it, it has to go ahead and look at the clause by clause conditionality of the bill, see what changes can be recommended. Recommended being the keyword. Okay. Second one is in terms of a short-term committee, is a committee that has a specific purpose, say for official languages or something of that sort. All right. So now in fact the whole class must be aware, if you are not, that you have, say, the permanent type of committee such as, say, the public accounts committee, estimates committee. All of these are what? The financial committees that are always present. Then you have the departmental standing committees, which look at particular departments, their functioning, their reports, their recommendations. Clear? So, बहुत सारे committees हैं. We'll take a look at select committees for today. The whole class on, say, parliamentary standing committees would extend for at least an hour. There's so much of knowledge and information and MCQs that can be framed are like immense. Okay? कोई बात नहीं प्रतीक, welcome. ठीक है, चलो शुरू करते हैं. So, parliamentary committees, like I told you, 2 types, ad hoc committees and standing committees. Now, ad hoc committees are for a specific purpose, and then as soon as the purpose is met, the committee is disbanded. Okay. Now, the ad hoc committees can be of 2 types. One that we are going to discuss today, the select committee. The second is the joint committee. Select committee can be of an individual house. Lok Sabha can have its own select committee. Okay. So, here it can be both LS plus RS. Whereas this tells you that in fact LS oblique RS, and here it will be LS plus RS. So, what happens in a joint committee? That you have members from both the houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Okay. So, you must have heard of, say, a joint parliamentary committee. Whenever there is a huge, say, corruption case or a scam that comes to light, or a matter that needs the collective wisdom of both the houses, okay, then you find that a joint committee is referred to. Okay, a joint parliamentary committee is a massive oversight, in fact. Okay, it's considered to be one of the most key mechanisms in which the government can be held accountable. Okay, so first we'll understand, say, select committee only today. JPC, JC are quite simple. If, say, a motion is moved in Rajya Sabha, okay, that a joint committee be moved with regards to this bill. You know, I am moving an amendment under such and such rule to go ahead and say refer it to a joint committee. Then if the person, the speaker or the chairperson, depending on the house, if they accept the motion, then they go ahead and transmit the message to the other house that, hey, look, there is a joint committee that there is being proposed, please suggest members. This is for joint committee. For select committee now, the story. So suppose if you want to move an amendment to form a select committee for a particular bill, because the point of a select committee is what? To go through the bill clause by clause, to look at the specific provisions of the bill, consider their applicability, okay, and suggest changes to it, recommend changes, advisory body here. It can only do recommendatory work. Its advice is non-binding on the government. Alright. Now, so what happens when the select committee gets a particular bill? Okay. So now as a member, so if you are the speaker or the chairperson, so I say, you know what, speaker sir or chairman sir, I want to move an amendment to refer this bill to a select committee and I would like to propose such and such names. I have the support of such and such members to refer this bill to a select committee comprising of such and such members. Okay. So what does the rule say now? Let's look at this. Then we'll refer to this. Ab ye dekho. So when you finally say that, okay, a select committee has to be formed for a particular bill, then what does the rule say? That no member is appointed to a select committee against his or her will. So you might say that Bhuvan sir is a part of my select committee, but you need to ascertain my concurrence first. The word that it uses is ascertain. Okay. There is no issue, there is no mention of signature or verbal agreement. What is it? How is it to be ascertained? It's not known. But it says, the rules say that you as a member, if you have referred to the chair that, okay, for this bill, this is the select committee that I am proposing, comprising of Bhuvan sir also, then you need to ascertain my consent for it. Now, how is that to be ascertained is not known. Okay. So, you cannot go ahead and nominate me against my motion, against my own will. Okay. In terms of Rajya Sabha, what you're looking at is Rule 125. Rajya Sabha rules and procedure under which any member may move an amendment to refer a bill to a select committee. So the point of it, this organization, this committee is what? You are going to look at the bill clause by clause. One A ka dekha, fir B ka dekha, fir C ka dekha. You are going to look at each and every aspect of the bill. Okay. And thereafter, what do you find? The chairman is appointed by the chairman of the Rajya Sabha, in the Lok Sabha case by the Lok Sabha, and the minister of the bill, the concerned bill. What you find is often that the private members bill do not get in fact to this stage often. It's the government, the treasury benches led bill. So the minister in charge will be a part of this particular select committee. Why? Again, because they are looking at answers. It's a mechanism for ensuring accountability. So the person from the government side needs to be included. So the minister is included as a part of the select committee. Okay. The quorum for each sitting is 1/3. So if you have say 15 members in a select committee, if you just find 5 members present, a meeting can be convened, go ahead, look at the individual clauses. Okay. And what happens after you have finished your work? So the bill is completely read, you have prepared your document with the recommendations. You give it to the speaker sir or the chairperson sir. What happens after that? That is given to the government. The government can actually throw it in the dustbin if it so wants. Because the whole point of it is that it is only recommendatory and non-binding. However, what happens is because the minister is a part of the select committee, which means his concurrence or dissent is noted, you know, after the report is submitted. So you have say 15 members, 14 of them agree to the bill as it is, suggest no changes. One says no, there needs to be a change. So this person will write a dissent note. Okay, explaining his position, why am I against the bill, or what was the recommendations that I had wanted to introduce. Then that is submitted to the speaker or the chairperson forwards it to the government may either choose to accept it or throw it. Okay, that is the function of a select committee. Individual houses, individual members, individual bills decided, the quorum is 1/3, membership decided by speaker or chairperson, and thereafter the procedure is non-binding or recommendatory. That is select committee. Joint committee, again the same procedure but both the members of the house. Okay, but joint committee, again the recommendations are often considered to be binding in fact. So the joint parliamentary committee, it's a massive mechanism. It's a huge mechanism of ensuring accountability. Okay, so JPC report आपने सुना होगा ना, काफी दफा न्यूज में आते रहता है. All right. Okay. So standing and other committees, now you're also looking at, say, the parliamentary watchdogs. Those committees that are watchdogs. So the question perspective, what the UPSC is going to ask you, which of the following committees can be considered to be watchdogs of parliamentary scrutiny or parliamentary oversight? Do you realize this? This is how they are going to ask you. This is now how UPSC asks you. They ask you the larger framework. Are you able to identify what is the larger work that a particular organization does or does not do? Okay. So make a note of this slide also. You will note down all the committees. And from the exam perspective, we will also note down which committees can a minister not be a part of. For example, select committee, a minister can be a part of that because you're looking at, say, answering questions, getting questions answered. But there are certain committees where you do not want ministerial representation. So what are those? So for example, financial committees, departmentally related standing committees, committees on empowerment of women, government assurances. Obviously, what does the government assurances committee do? That the government has made a commitment. Is it holding its commitment? Accountability. तो वहाँ minister क्यों रखेंगे? It's like, Karthik calling Karthik. It wouldn't work. So obviously minister can't be in the government assurances committee. Okay. Petitions, subordinate legislation. A question was asked by UPSC on subordinate legislation just a couple of years ago. Okay. Welfare, SC/ST committee. So note down these. These are the, say, general exceptions that you must know. Okay. All right. So we will go and have a look at the questions now. Have a look at this question, guys. Don't mind the framing. I will make it proper before I share it in the Telegram channel. Okay. 2018. With reference to the Parliament of India, which of the following committees scrutinizes and reports to the House whether the powers to make regulations, rules, sub-rules, bylaws are being properly exercised by the executive? See, you know the answer to this. This is in fact, all right, exactly what it does. I have told you about assurances. Are the promises that are being made, are they being kept? Okay. Subordinate legislation is whether the rules, the bylaws are being followed. Okay. You're also looking at rules committee, that whether the rules in when the business of the house, the transaction of the house is being carried, are the rules also in place? Are they being subscribed to? Okay. And business advisory committee is essentially the daily chronology of sequence of the house. Kis din kya liya jayega? Okay. For example, right now, the no confidence motion of the house is in session. The no confidence motion is happening. I hope you guys caught a glimpse of it yesterday. So what must have happened? Before the, say, NCM motion, no confidence motion was accepted by the chair, by the speaker of the Lok Sabha, they must have had a particular time plan, a schedule, that okay, right now we'll take a look at, say, voting on offshore minerals bill. Thereafter that we'll have, say, special mentions will be there. Something of that sort. Question hour will be there. 0 hour will be there. All of that is what? The business advisory committee's work. What day, what work do we take up? Okay. Now all of that has been kept aside, and now the whole parliament, Lok Sabha, is discussing the no confidence motion, which means the original plan of the BAC has been altered. So originally they must have been discussing, say, Bill 1 today or Bill 2 today or something they must have been doing 11 AM onwards. That's the job of the BAC. Okay? So I've given you this answer. You will answer the rest for me. You will match this, by the way. I forgot to write this. Match the following. I have given you, say, a first-hand primer class on committees of India, of Parliament of India. You will answer this for me. Match the following. And you have, say, 4 of those there, 5 of these here. Answer this for me. Also the work of the estimates committee of the Lok Sabha. What does it do? Okay. So आज मैंने आपका एक साथ कितना रिवाइज करा है? सेलेक्ट रिवाइज हो गया, जॉइंट हो गया, जेपीसी हो गया, ओके, बाद सबऑर्डिनेट लेजिस्लेशन हो गया, गवर्नमेंट अश्योरेंसेस हो गया, ओके, एस्टिमेट्स आप कर लोगे. So look at this. In 5 minutes you have revised how many committees? This is what the mantra of UPSC is. Repetition. Some people might find this process very cumbersome, tedious, but then the exam expects this of you. You revise topics on a day-to-day basis when you're reading your current affairs. Okay. You never prepare in isolation. ऐसा नहीं होता कि 2 हफ्ते में अब पॉलिटी पढ़ूंगा. पॉलिटी साल भर पढ़ना पड़ता है न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ते टाइम. ठीक है. Okay. This, by the way, is beginning on the 11th P2I course, early morning 8 a.m. I am responsible for environment and geography. For those of you who have had a chance to look at my environment classes, go ahead and have a look at Aranya series. Lecture 1, 2, 3 has been done. Okay. And so go ahead and sign up for this, because the way we discuss concepts here, right from basics, making sure that every angle for a particular topic is covered, is the central mantra of this SEAM code. Okay. And you will often find that the problems that you face during the course of your preparation, the challenges, it's important that you, when you're doing it yourself, suppose if you're doing the whole preparation yourself, address your challenges on a day-to-day basis. Be very professional about this whole preparation. Okay. If I have told you in the last class, if you're not studying for 40 to 45 hours in a week, you will not survive in the private market also. Okay, forget the sarkari job that you're looking for. That's the minimum time that you must study, because that's the minimum time people of India are also working. Okay. So be professional about your studies, and if you need hand-holding, guidance, go ahead to studyiq.com. You will find the description box, the link will be provided. Okay. Sign up for this course beginning on the 11th, 8 a.m. introduction class, orientation, I will be taking it. Okay. Use the code BALIVE, BALIVE, and that ensures that you get my batch, and plus you get a massive discount. Okay. I hope to see many of you guys. Please do come. Alright, and now we come to the last topic of the day. Today is the 9th of August, and which means the United Nations is observing for this year the International Day of World's Indigenous People, also known as the Tribal People. Okay. And what is the theme for this year? The theme is Indigenous Youth as Agents of Change for Self-Determination. What is self-determination? That you take the decisions for your future, that you decide your destiny. Is that not? Okay. Everyday house is adjourned. Why? Oh, well, because it's the house. It's supposed to get adjourned. It's a place of discussion. And so during discussion and debate, there will be disruption. So to bring the house back in order, you need adjournment. All right. That's why. It's expected. Don't be surprised. BSc contain ministers? Yeah, ideally, yes. Aniesta. Polity is not a one-day game. Absolutely correct. Yes, Aniesta, I agree. In fact, it's to be done throughout the year. Whenever you read a polity topic or a geography topic, go ahead and look at the static part also. Okay. Voting button was not working yesterday. Bulbul, these are minor problems. Ye sab to hota rehta hai. Voice vote is there. There are all kinds of vote. So it's okay. Plus, it must be a technical issue. No one has any agenda here. Okay, Deepak. Okay, fine. Chalo. So we'll take a look at this. This is the theme for this year. Alright. This is the theme for this year. Youth as agents of self-determination. And why are you saying this? Why are we speaking about it? So this is from the UN website, okay. I recommend you go ahead and take a look at the UN website. You will just have a brief look, okay. So what you find essentially, even in India's case, you can extrapolate these points. 47% of all indigenous people in employment have no education. So lack of education is there, lack of accessibility, lack of opportunities, lack of health, lack of financial resources. When you consider and factor in climate change, the first to be affected are going to be the vulnerable people, the tribal communities. So obviously, in terms of say the focus priority area of policy, they have to be number one, right? 86% of indigenous people globally work in the informal economy, okay? So again, that they are not a part of the proper workforce. So if you are not a part of the proper workforce, क्या होता है? पहले वो सोचो आप. Firstly, your income is not say guaranteed. Your income level will be obviously lower. You do not have access to say insurance, to health benefits. So many problems arise because you're not a part of the formal economy. It's not just say about informal, formal. That is obviously an economics concept. But what are the practical ramifications of it? That you lose the right to lead a basic dignity. Have a dignity in your life. Have a basic security in your life. That is the problem that we're seeking to address. Okay? And thus, you will be going to be much more vulnerable to poverty. Which is why to address these issues, International Day of Indigenous People, to raise awareness about the threats, the challenges that the indigenous people across the world face, this day is celebrated observed by the United Nations. Okay? So the priorities. Now I wanted to discuss SDGs today. See, ideally in the course of the class, we could have easily discussed all the tribal groups of India. Okay? But in terms of say mains, if you're writing mains this year or say even for next year, considering that Agenda 2030 is fast approaching. Okay? And so whenever you're looking at a developmental issue, please factor in this first. And not just from the perspective of say what does it mean, but also from the perspective of say inclusive development, which is the cornerstone of Agenda 2030, is it not? That inclusivity has to be the cornerstone of whatever developmental works we are doing. In that context, you find that the tribal groups are quite, in fact, disadvantaged, as one would expect. Okay? That they are at an inherent disadvantage because, say, it's that inclusive development conversation has not percolated up until the grassroots. So, in terms of the SDGs, what you find is, say, the SDGs do mention in detail about, say, particular goals that are going to address the issues of the tribals. So, goal 2, related to agricultural output of indigenous small-scale farmers. Okay, goal 4, on equal access to education. All of these in the SDGs talk about, say, how these particularly vulnerable tribal groups or indigenous people, their concerns are to be addressed. So, from the mains perspective, I would suggest that you at least prepare 150 words on this, on SDGs plus each of the disadvantaged groups, including, say, tribals, okay, women, children, senior citizens. You need to prepare this not just say from the point of view of your GS papers, but also for including in your essay papers. That's how your essay becomes, say, an essay that gets, say, 150, 160, the best marks. Okay, I'm giving you the basic roadmap. We'll discuss each of them in the course of, say, the next run up to the UPSC examination. Each of these relationships will be focused. But I'm giving you sort of a basic introduction class. Ab samajh lo. Okay. So please understand 6 direct references to indigenous communities in the SDG, and the 2030 agenda also calls on indigenous people to engage in implementing the SDGs. That their help, the focus that we have focused on traditional knowledge, that is inherent. That their knowledge, their experience also needs to be factored in. At the same time, we are looking at, say, empowering them for the future, not just from, say, health or education, but also from protecting themselves against climate change. Because again, they are at the forefront of this war. Okay? Their, in fact, livelihood, their sustenance is directly related to the nature, to the forest. In India's case only, if you just take a look at, say, the forest dwellers or those who live in the fringes of the forest, belonging to, say, the scheduled tribes. Okay? That, say, the health of the forest is linked to the health of the man or the woman there. So, you need to go ahead and, say, invest in agriculture, in mechanisms of climate change adaptation, that they are able to adapt first, that they are able to mitigate their losses. All of that needs to be a focus area. Samajh rahe ho aap log? So have a look at this slide. It shouldn't be that difficult. I've given you the basic structure for it. We'll discuss the individual stakeholder relationships. Okay? And answer these 2 PYQs for me, please. One from 2021, one from 2019. Okay? Go ahead and answer these for me. Please let me know your answers in the comment box. Okay? We have discussed how many questions today? 1 to 8. 8 questions plus around, say, close to what, 12 to 13 concepts, individual concepts. Okay? So that's your outcome based learning for the last 52 minutes. Okay? This is what I focus on. So if you found this class useful, go ahead and leave me a like. I would really appreciate that. Okay? And leave the answers for me. Please do. Alright, and I hope that many of you consider, in fact, answering the questions of lecture 3 also. The lecture 4 schedule will be around soon. And so if you have any questions, I can take them now, or else we'll call it a wraps. Any questions for me, guys? I have sent out mails to all my students this morning regarding those who have submitted answers. To anyone who has not received an email from me this morning, please do just leave me a reminder. I'd really appreciate that. Okay. कोई सवाल हो तो बताएं, or else I will take your leave. Please do answer the questions. Consider answering the questions, 1 to 8 questions only. It will not take a lot of your time. Shubhankar, yes, your question. Levy says surcharges. Yes, Shubhankar, done. Promise raha aapko. I'll do a brief session, explain you the differences. Say how are you going to identify on what ho jata hai wo. 5 minutes. At the same time, please make sure, just a couple of days ago we did the differences of rank and structure of the 3 wings of the Indian Armed Forces. Okay. So yesterday the ISO bill, Inter-Services Organization bill, was also passed in the Rajya Sabha. So now it goes and becomes an act. It will be published in the Gazette, President signs it, all of that will happen. So make sure that the ISO Act now becomes a central area, because this is the next stage of the defense indigenization or reforms that we talk about. No, you see how the reforms that begun, say with the creation of the CDS, now you are seeing it eventually percolate down to the operational level, and now you will see now that theatre plan commands will be created. So that's the whole story of defense indigenization. If you're writing an answer, say on defense reforms, not just the business aspect but the operational aspect also needs to be included. समझ रहे हो आप? So that's how you're going to read news, guys. It's not just looking at 15 articles and having no outcome. You need to have a story for every concept. ठीक है? Okay, I'll take your leave, guys. Have a wonderful day. Have a fantastic day. And I shall see you guys tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. for the editorial edge. If we have a class this evening for the Aranya series, I shall update that information on my Telegram channel by this afternoon. Okay? Thanks for watching. Bye.